I'm going to keep Barbara Rogers' introduction today quite short. She's been involved with our community for 23 years and has been on various organizations. I have 2 pages full of various organizations that she currently is a member of or has been past chair of or president of in the past. But in thinking about how to introduce Barbara today, what occurred to me this morning as the real benefit that she has to give to our city with this past experience is that she's been on the city council since 1978, and as we start this new decade, we're going to have the benefit of her experience from both the 70s and the 80s as our leader to take us forward into the 90s. And I think that together with all the creative vitality and influx that we get not only from her but from our various new members, our city will have good times ahead. So Barbara today is going to give us a bit of a preview of our accomplishments over this past year and a view to what she sees ahead for 1990. Barbara, welcome.
Madam President, fellow chamber members, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to address you today on the state of the city, and as I did 4 years ago standing in the same room, and to tell you that the state of the city is good and it's in good hands. The council decided unanimously about a year ago to hire Don Brown as the new city manager. You met Don earlier. Don, we have a wonderful city staff, and some of them are here today. I wonder if you'd stand, please. Steve Dowling, the head of Park and Rec, Blaine Snyder, Finance, Dorothy Cornelius, our city clerk, Donna Cray, Public Information, Bert Viskovich, Public Works, Bob Cowan, Planning. We also have Mary Ann Wallace, who, while she's a county employee, she's the head of the Cupertino Library, and we think of her as ours. Will you help me thank them, please? They're able, conscientious, and caring. They do a good job of implementing the policies that council makes, and they make us look good, sometimes in spite of ourselves. We also have 3 new city council members and one who's not so new, who's now our mayor pro tem, and you met them earlier. Together, and with your assistance, we will work hard to guide the city in this next decade, which is full of challenges. Next month, we will be doing long-range planning, and then on February 27, we will have our preliminary budget hearing. That will be in conjunction with the approval of the 5-year capital improvements program, and it's probably our most important meeting of the year because we give direction for the development of the budget at that time. The budget is our guide for spending your money next year. It's not only the most important meeting, it's probably the least well-attended, so I urge your presence and your input. Financially, the city is sound. Revenues exceeded expenditures by $863,000, and the general fund balance was $15.3 million at the end of the fiscal year 1988-89. Revenues are up a little bit, and they're coming in about as expected. And expenditures about the same, up a little bit and as expected. Sales tax accounts for 41.5% of the general fund, and that too is about as expected. I think we'll probably have a tighter budget next year. SCA 1 will be on the June ballot. That would provide for a 5-cent sales tax increase, a gas tax increase immediately for streets and highways, including Highway 85, and it would also provide funds for the schools and would raise the GAN limit, and it would increase 1 cent a year for 9 years. It's imperative that it pass, but it won't unless we have the help of all of you here today. A committee from the business community will be coming to us on March 5 to introduce their revisions to the business tax, which hasn't been changed for 25 years. That proposed increase will be on the November ballot. 4 years ago, the Cupertino Inn was under construction, and we hoped to have a Marriott at Valco and a DoubleTree in town center by this time. Today we have open the Cupertino Inn, the Marriott Courtyard. The Marriott Valco seems to be pretty much of a dead issue, and the DoubleTree is still online. 4 years ago, Valco Financial Center was bought by Westfield, and about 3 months ago, Tandem announced its purchase of the remaining Valco holdings except for the hotel site. Tandem expects to keep everything about the same for the next 2 years, including Valco Village, while they do extensive long-range planning. On October 16, we approved 348 housing units at the Mary Annie site on Homestead and De Anza. Tuesday evening, we continued the Sobrato application until next Monday, and that would be for the redevelopment of the 4-phase buildings on De Anza's just south of 280. 2 months ago, Forum Life Care broke ground for the senior retirement project on the church property near St. Joseph's. We understand that Prometheus will be coming in soon to apply to build 300 homes out there. 4 years ago, we were completing plans to expand City Hall and the library, and today you see the results. I guess you really like the library because readership is up over 25% from last year. We will have a grand opening for the community center over 3 days, March 30, 31, and April 1. And Cupertino Community Services and the History Museum will be housed there. Linda Vista Park has been renovated, and in partnership with the school district, so has Hoover. Jollyman awaits only the end of the drought, and the Wilson School site was purchased recently for park expansion. We are still in negotiations to purchase the Racquet Club site for recreation. Members of the Planning and Parks and Recreation Commission are meeting jointly to explore options for recreation and open space. And these, of course, include not only purchase, but lease or rental, and of course, joint use. You heard about the third fire station. Groundbreaking was 2 weeks ago for that. And the new 100-foot high-rise ladder truck at the Cupertino station. And of course, you've met our new sheriff earlier. Construction for the new post office in Monte Vista is now targeted for 1990-91. And a traffic study there, that is the area around 85 and West Stevens Creek Boulevard, will begin next month. We work hard to try to make traffic flow better in Cupertino. We've widened the hairpin turn on Lower McClellan and Stevens Creek Boulevard between the dip and the top of Hoo Hoo Hill, which is on the way towards Foothill. Federal Community Block Grant Development funds provided for the reconstruction of Empire and Grand Avenues in Monte Vista. I hope you've noticed your funds at work, as they say, building these streets and the overpasses and the bridges across 85. After that's done, the roadway will be laid, and we hope that it will be open in 1993. We will be addressing the 85 Saratoga-Sunnyvale Rainbow Interchange on the 29th at Cupertino High School. The people who lived in that area, or who do live in that area, have certainly helped with their input, as have the people who live in the 85 Stevens Creek area with their input. I want to thank all of you who are here today who helped keep 85 alive. You may have heard that Measure A funds have run out, and it might be necessary to have another election to increase funding, particularly if SCA 1 does not pass. In that event, we will certainly need your assistance. The 4th lanes on 280 are being constructed finally, and I believe that all these traffic improvements will redistribute the commute traffic and help keep our city streets from getting any worse. Housing remains a problem. The high cost of housing and of land make it hard for people of all segments of the population to live in Cupertino. That's a goal of the state and of the region, and it's in our general plan. And I don't know what the answer is. We survived the October earthquake quite well. Administrative Specialist Pat Josias is working to improve our planning and our response. Please call her for a neighborhood presentation. And I hope each of you has at least 2 weeks' food and water emergency supplies. I've talked a little bit about the physical aspects of Cupertino, and of course the city is incorporated to provide for local land use decision-making. However, a city is more than streets and gutters, more than parks and buildings. It's the people. We're fortunate in Cupertino to have leaders in technology. Apple, Hewlett-Packard, MeasureX, Motorola, Olivetti, Siemens, Tandem, and others. And you know that Apple, MeasureX, and Tandem are headquartered here. These companies have made a commitment to Cupertino. But of equal importance is the volunteering that their employees do. They help out in Cupertino Community Services, in the schools, the Historical Society, the arts, et cetera, et cetera. Initially and ultimately, however, it's the residents here that make Cupertino the great community it is. Everywhere I go, across the state, nationally, and people from abroad, all admire Cupertino, the way it looks, the way it's run, the way the people are involved. 4 years ago, our video staff, who are here today, and they're wonderful, put together a video about Cupertino, which was so excellent that it was a major factor in getting a good credit rating so that we could proceed with our City Hall, library, and community center projects. On February 5, we will discuss the Goals Committee component of the General Plan review process. The recommendations from the Goals Committee and their incorporation in the General Plan will direct the city's growth and development for the next decade at least. I know that that committee will hone in on quality of life, relief from the fast-paced workplace, increased congestion, traffic density, and all the things that make up our quality of life here. Growth and change are inevitable. The important thing is how we direct that growth. And I know that perhaps some of you here today, wonder why the council always caves in to the no-growth residents who think anything over 3 stories is high-rise. Others, who moved here because they really valued a semi-rural way of life, believe that we've lost our minds and have sold out to the developers in the process. But everything we do has to be in conformance with the general plan, and it is. The general plan is a state-mandated document, and within its guidelines, city planning is an ongoing process. We do our planning for all the world to watch, and they watch all the mistakes we make. Obviously, we need all the help we can get. We have 8 advisory committees to help us. These committees are appointed from volunteers in the community by the council, and they serve for little pay and oftentimes less thanks. However, 4 years ago, 53 people applied for 10 vacancies on 4 commissions. And this month we had 52 applicants for 15 vacancies on 6 commissions. People in Cupertino volunteer in various aspects of the community life. And we set up a program in the city, the Civic Service Awards program, to honor them. But today I'd like to publicly thank everybody here who volunteers, who cares, who gets involved, who helps others, whether as an individual or as part of a group. We are more and more part of a larger multi-city area in the county, the region, and the state. Our neighboring cities also recognize this mutual interdependence, and so does the state, which is ready to mandate cooperation if we don't act first. We do have something of a history of countywide cooperation, the 1983 Hazardous Materials Storage and Handling Ordinance. Pending are the toxic gas, the solid waste disposal, and the hazardous waste ordinances. The countywide traffic management congestion plan, which emphasizes air pollution reduction, is finally getting underway. It would be required under SCA 1 and is certainly really needed in any case. The challenges, however, facing us in the next decade are mind-boggling. They include traffic and transportation, housing and the homeless, and we do have homeless in Cupertino, emergency preparedness, pollution, both air and water, recycling, energy, natural resources, the environment, drought for a 4th unprecedented year, drugs, illiteracy and education, quality of life. Drugs are an overriding problem. and they affect everything we do. They account for theft, burglary, robbery, assault, prostitution, murder, child neglect, breakup of the family and the home, and on and on. League of California Cities last year determined that drugs is this state's greatest problem. In Cupertino, we are cooperating with the elementary and high school districts and with the county to place a juvenile probation officer in a shared position on 2 campuses, Cupertino High and Kennedy, for a year and a half starting in February. Under the Sheriff's Office, the DARE program is presented in our elementary schools, and the high schools have their own drug impact programs. It will still take all of us to address the drug problem here in Cupertino, to keep it from getting so bad that it completely changes the way we live here. 2 months ago at National League of Cities in Atlanta, I was surprised to hear city officials from all across the country say that drugs was not the greatest problem nationally, that rather it was education. We're fortunate that we are not in a large metropolitan school district where 20% of the students do not graduate, and of those who do, 1/4 are functionally illiterate. Rather, we have here the Cupertino School District, which is renowned nationally for the quality of its education, as is the high school district. De Anza is noted for excellence in instruction, as well as being noted for being the home of Flint Center, the Eufrat Gallery, and Minolta Planetarium. De Anza is not only building a parking garage, it's expanding its technical training program. Foremost in technical training for 100 years is Cogswell Polytechnical College, which moved here from San Francisco 4 years ago. But we can't be complacent. Education is really everyone's job, and we all need to be involved in whatever way we can. Another function of the community is the arts. I expect we'll see more in the performing and fine arts through the city and in cooperation with the school districts and colleges and with business and industry. Next Thursday, our Fine Arts Commission will be sponsoring the mural dedication at City Hall, and I hope to see you there. A criterion of life is the churches which see their memberships growing here in Cupertino to the point where they're having to expand their facilities. Members of their congregation are the backbone of many of our service organizations. By the end of the year, Heritage Cable TV, formerly Gill, will be telecasting 53 to all of us here, the residents who came in, as well as the ones who have it now. That means you'll all be able to watch our council meetings and planning commission meetings live. Communication is becoming more and more important, and we're working hard to do a better job. And I know our citizens will tell us what it is they really mean, what they really need, and will help make those decisions. We need to strengthen relationships with individuals in the neighborhoods and service organizations, with business and industry in the chamber, with education and the churches. Change is everywhere. Globally, whoever expected to see the Berlin Wall breached or the Russian satellites win their independence? Locally, we have a sister city, Toyokawa, Japan. The International Festival will be held on April 7, and Peroslavl-Soleski, Russia, which is outside Moscow, may become another sister city soon. A delegation from that city will be coming here January 22 through February 5, and we thank the Rotary for their help in this visit. A society can be judged, I think, on the way it treats its elderly and its children. The emphasis it gives and doesn't give to them. And there's a lot to be done here. We do help fund agencies to provide assistance for the needy, but there is no long-term planning for the elderly or our children. I expect the Goals Committee will address this. In the meantime, I plan to convene a mayor's Blue Ribbon Committee to look at child care. We're in the 4th year of our 5-year bicentennial celebration. It will be the 35th year of Cupertino's incorporation and the Senior Center's 10th anniversary. We've come a long way. And I'll share with you again the old Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. We do. They are interesting and they are perilous, but they also provide an incredible opportunity for good and for greatness. It remains to define what greatness is and how to achieve it. And working together, I believe we can succeed greatly. With your help, when I call on each of you, I know you will give all that you can. Madam President.
Thank you very much, Mayor Rogers. It was an excellent speech, and I think we all feel that our city is in good hands and the body is healthy. Thank you for coming. Meeting is adjourned.